Hi, year 10. Let me just check the time here. We're going to be meeting in 7 minutes, but I just thought I'd record you a little video. Um, I've noticed that a lot of people, when they're sharing their work, are not getting the best possible images from it. So let me see if I can just share my desktop here and get rid of Zoom. Open up Finder. Okay, so I want to take a picture of a piece of work, this piece of work, okay? So the first thing I need to do is clear a little bit of space on my desk at home. Now you can see my workspace is a bit of a mess. And I'm sure many of yours are as well, because if you're lucky enough to have a little bit of space at home that your parents or guardians have allocated you, likelihood is that it will have a bit of mess on it, you know, from paint and everything like that. It's just part of the nature of making work. Sometimes you make a mess. So clear a space and then maybe either clean up or get a piece of clean paper to put underneath whatever it is you're going to photograph. Now, believe it or not, I have actually received photographs like this and like this from students, and they're not terrible, but you know, there's a bit of laptop there. You know, it's not a very good picture of the work. It's not a kind of digital version of the work. It's just a photograph of the work. It's not been edited. I can see that's not good. You know, it doesn't impress me. So the way I would recommend sorting that out would be firstly by getting a good photograph. So I stood up here straight away and I'm looking straight down. I have my phone, rather than like this, kind of pointing down at the desk or whatever from a seated position, it's like this, it's horizontal, okay? And when you do that, the iPhone recognizes that you're taking a flat lay, and you can see this little cross in the middle, these two little crosses, okay? If the surface you're photographing from is flat, you will be able to use the gyroscope of the iPhone to get a perfectly flat image. But if you have not got a flat surface, you just have to use your eyes a little bit more. Now, another thing you can do is in the struggle to get a flat picture, you can do not a flat picture, sorry, but a nice exposure, is you can use this tap focus feature. I recommend tapping, okay, on the lightest part of the image, but just where that lightest part of the image touches a darker part. So that'll do two things. Firstly, it will tell the auto exposure of your iPhone or your smartphone or whatever it is that's the lightest part of the image, and it will expose everything else in the image, so that it looks good. And also what it will do is it will just focus the camera, because a lot of what the iPhone does is automated, and other smartphones as well, I imagine, are the same. But if you just tap on that light area, it should give it a little bit of help, because it's not human, it's a machine, so it doesn't always know what the correct decision is or what you want from it. So you have to tell it. So use the gyroscope, use the tap focus and auto exposure buttons. So here I've tried adding some different colored backgrounds because I realized I'm working on white paper, so white on white, there's not contrast there. Now I can see the edge of the image a little bit better, which is nice. I thought, what about something a bit more extreme? I went for a piece of black paper. Now this is the Holly Guntrip sketchbook that I've been using to demonstrate with. So I just kind of popped that on my desk, and and then I started photographing it. Now, what was bothering me was, I don't know if you can see this in the top right, but that corner wouldn't sort itself out. And that's because if you look at this piece of paper, like, it's just a bit warped. It's because it's a recycled piece of sketchbook paper, and also because it's covered in glue from, it's covered in glue. So that caused it to warp a little bit. So it doesn't matter how much I use these little tools at the bottom, like adjusting the orientation this way, rotating it, it just wasn't working out. So let me go back there a little bit, because I fixed it. And the way I fixed it was basically, I don't know if you can see here on this edge, but it's all kind of like ripped and everything, and it's not crisp. So what I did was I took my scalpel and my ruler and my trusty cutting mat with its grid, and I lined up the image with the grid, and I sliced perfectly at right angles that nasty ripped edge off of it, so that it looked really crisp and clean. And then I took a little bit of glue, actually, and I stuck it just on the corners, just a little bit, because I didn't want to stick it down permanently. I just wanted to hold it in place. So I stuck a little bit of glue on the corners. I placed it down onto Holly Guntrip's sketchbook, and then you'll see that I managed to get a much better picture that I was much happier with. Yeah, there it is. Okay, and I even edited it using the iPhone's kind of auto exposure feature, which doesn't always work, but in this case, I was pretty happy with it. So I left it. Right, I could talk more about this and about saving this image now and sharing it on Instagram, but I'll stop. If you don't have an iPhone, I'm sorry. I know that a lot of what I talk about is sometimes very focused on Apple devices, but I think most people have them. Um, if you don't have iPhone and they don't have any on the phone you do have access to, there isn't the same sort of editing features. Instagram has basically got the same exact thing. The only problem sometimes with Instagram is getting your image saved afterwards. And if you can't do that for whatever reason, I think sometimes if you have multiple Instagram accounts, it doesn't always let you do it. Um, you have to post the image, and then normally if you've allowed Instagram to do it, it will automatically save it back onto your phone, like the edited image. Anyway, that's my advice, and I'm hoping to get some really nice kind of like images of the work that are actually the work, rather than just a kind of like evidence that it exists from you over the next few weeks. Okay, cool, thank you so much. I'll stop talking now.